Okay, unless you are living under a rock, you must have heard about the situation going on with life of Puja. So for context, basically there are few influencers who have accused Puja of being an industry plant, claiming that whatever she is doing, the way of her presentation, skills, marketing, articulation and eloquence can't be authentic or real given the background that she claims to be coming from. Now, people are definitely on Puja's side as they should be, and Puja herself has replied to all of these claims and debunked all of this false stuff. But this made me realize that this is basically an amplified version of something that we all face on a day to day basis, but in a much smaller scale and in a very subtle way. So, let me explain. Over the past years, I have realized that we tend to associate our self worth a little bit too much with a few things, like a handful of things, like either success or our skills, what we are good at, our job, our money, wealth, whatever it is. Now, these are usually very fragile, and which also means that our ego gets attached to all of these, and these are also very fragile. On top of that, human mind also loves predictability, a system, like to achieve a certain thing, you need to follow XYZ steps. To reach a certain point, you have to drive by a certain route. That's the kind of predictability we like to enjoy. Now, when it comes to the most common thing that we associate our self worth with, which is success, we like to believe that there is a set of rules when in reality there isn't really always, but we like to believe there is some rules, and if we follow those rules we are going to get there. Sometimes when we don't get there and when we see somebody else getting there faster, easier, in a different way, which kind of is called disruptive, our mind at a subconscious level tries to reject it. Basically, the success that Life of Puja has received represents that unpredictability, that disruption that everybody hates, that everybody is not able to understand and digest, that reality is not that simple. On top of that, it seems like people have also formed a bias over the years that skills, talent can only be acquired and present in a person if they come from a certain background and if they come from a certain set of privilege. Because of this weak base of our self worth and identity, layered with love for a system, love for predictability, we often forget that our ego and our confidence and security is not building properly, because a, reality is not that systematic and predictable, and b, we need to associate our self-worth and identity with more things than money and success. That way we will not fall into the trap of social comparison and status anxiety. Like when somebody gets something or achieves something, it doesn't create lack in us or threatens us that, okay, I am, what does that mean for me, what does that mean for my status, and how is people gonna see me because I still haven't achieved that. How does that manifest in our day to day life, you may ask? I'm sure that we all meet people who tend to belittle us, belittle our achievements, nitpick on us, and if they are not liking us, they will be slightly passive aggressive towards us. Sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes they will always play defense because they are so insecure. They will think that somebody will attack, so they are constantly bragging and showing off. And I'm not saying that we don't do this. Maybe we also do this because I've seen that we human have a natural tendency to mimic and mirror whatever behavior we receive. So if somebody is being passive aggressive to us, we might also become passive aggressive to them. Now, this if keeps on manifesting and happening multiple times, we can ultimately not have tolerance towards it anymore, and we decide often to isolate ourselves, distance ourselves from these people. The more and more this keeps happening, we become more isolated of a person. Everybody, even if they are a very good person at heart, they still do this. They do this at a subconscious level because this is how our society functions, this is what our society knows and acts, and nobody does that metacognition thing of observing their behavior and thoughts and patterns and then rectifying or working on it. That's why I'm making this video, because I believe that we all should be taking this as a lesson. The whole issue snowballed and gave a huge highlight to this phenomenon, and I think we should work on ourselves and also observe how to deal with people like this, but also not isolate ourselves completely. I'm saying all of this as a hypersensitive person. I take offense very easily, I get affected very easily, and I tend to distance myself or isolate myself or fight back way too easily because I am thinking so deeply and feeling and getting affected so deeply, which over the years I am realizing is not a good thing. Yes, sensitivity is good, being sensitive is also good, but everything is good only in moderation, and sensitivity is not something that different. So one way how to deal with people when they act this way, maybe because they are having an issue, is to tell that to myself, is to tell that to yourself, that when somebody is behaving negatively towards you, it's probably more of a manifestation of who they are and how fragile their security and self-worth is, which is why they are acting this way. So it's not personal towards you, and it's easier said than done. Today I am saying all of this to you, but you have to remember this every day in the long run. When you go into a conversation and you go into any social interaction, you cannot bring that home and take it with you, or take any of those things to heart. Just hang out and be uncomfortable. Hang out with people who are better than you. Be okay with people's achievement. Be okay with people who are good and actually better than you. And whenever you do not expect someone to do good or do better, but they actually do better and do good, be happy about it. Be okay with it. Tell yourself that this doesn't really take away anything from me. My worth, my identity, my security is not associated with somebody's gains, somebody's achievements, or somebody's loss. These are few practices that we have to do on ourselves, some exercises that we have to do on ourselves, because if we don't work on ourselves, then we can already see the effect, right? Like, we are all distancing ourselves from uncomfortable social situations, we are isolating ourselves, and I feel like millennial women are already pretty zoned out and secluded in their own circle, in their own bubble, and that circle doesn't even exist. I'm not saying this is always a bad thing, but I feel like if we grow older and let this keep happening and completely seclude ourselves from even a slightest of discomfort, then we are just going to end up becoming more and more lonely person, which in turn is not going to make anyone happy. The first reason we start distancing ourselves is to make sure that we are at peace and we are having happiness, right? But if that also crosses a boundary and that also crosses the limit of moderation, then again we are going to be lonely and unhappy, and the peace is also going to go away. That is my takeaway from the whole situation, from the whole phenomenon that happened with life of Puja. And I feel like this whole thing gave more attention, popularity, and praise which Puja deserves. Yeah, that's all I had to say. I'll see you later in the next one.